Hello everyone, Darren here, and on today's episode we are going to look at how to play the Tier 10 Russian medium tank, the Object 140. This tank is considered to be the best medium tank out of the original 3 Russian mediums. So today we will look at the key differences that set the Object 140 apart from its brothers, the T-62A and the Object 430. So let's get started. Now, the armor of the Object 140 is decent in regards to the trio, with 240mm being the strongest part of the tank around the front bottom part of the turret. This means you are able to bounce shells if they hit around the area of the armor. Do note that the entire front part of your tank is only 100mm thick, and the very top part of your turret is only 45mm thick. Even with the hull sloped at its current angle, I am hard-pressed to reliably bounce any shots to my hull, and when going hull down, I must be cautious of HE shots being directed at the top of my turret, so be wary of those weaknesses along with the cupolas. So mobility on the Object 140 is pretty good at 55 km per hour forward speed. You will have no problems getting to where you need to go, and with an amazing 20 km per hour reverse speed, you will have no problems getting out of trouble if you make a mistake. These speeds are the same as the Object 430. Now, as for your chance of fire, the 140 is the worst of the three at a still low 12%. This means you can totally run food instead of fire extinguisher as long as firefighting skills are equipped. Now, regarding the gun, it is the middle child of the 3 tanks, with the reload time being 6.6 seconds, which is the same as the T-62A. But this is worse than the Object 430, which has a 6.4 second reload. Accuracy is also average of the 3 at 0.35, which is worse than the 62A at 0.34, but better than the 430 at 0.38. Now, with the best gun depression of the 3 tanks at 6 degrees, you will fare a better chance of fighting around and on ridgelines than the other 2, but you will still be at a disadvantage when fighting NATO-style tanks. Now, how do you set up the Object 140? Well, in terms of consumables, I run 30 APCR, 20 heat, and 0 HE because I do not like using HE if it isn't HEP or HESH. I also run a repair kit, a first aid kit, and a fire extinguisher, even with the low fire chance because of my luck with artillery. It's better to have one and not need it than to need one and not have it. But if your crew has firefighting skills, you can forget the fire extinguisher and use food if you want. Now, for equipment, I use gun rammer, vertical stabilizers, and optics to improve the vision. Of course, if your goal is to increase the DPM as much as possible, you can swap optics for vents if you wish to do so. Now, how do you play the Object 140? This is a topic I somewhat covered in a different video. In this video, I talked about how the Object 140, 430, and T-62A are tanks that can excel at wolfpacking, preferably with teammates. With the high speed and fast reload time, you and other Russian mediums will be able to move around the battlefield quickly, targeting low health, singled out tanks, and quickly destroy them with your high DPM. This is the best way I've found to play the Object 140. Now, I'm not saying that you can't do well in the 140 playing solo, but out of all the games I did solo, many had pretty respectable results, but it was only when I started playing the tank in a Wolfpack playstyle that I was able to pretty much almost double my average results and began to truly enjoy the tank. Now, that concludes the overview of the Object 140. Now let's look at some gameplay. So here we are on Pilsen. I was a little late in starting the recording, but here I am platooned up with some clanmates of mine from DS, and we're going to go down the 9-0 line because that gives us the most room to maneuver, and we are not crowded and stuck in corridors like the heavies are, and this is what wolf packs tend to excel at, which is being able to maneuver around and get around enemy tanks, flank them, and just use their high DPM to just continuously put rounds in. Now right here, I this whole map, oh, I hate this map. It confuses me. I honestly think that they're like these towers are destructible and they end up not being, or towers that I think are indestructible are not, or are pretty much completely destructible. And I just get confused. Even as long as this map has been around, I still do not remember. But yeah, I got stuck there by the 103. You know, it was an accident. It probably was my fault for thinking it was destructible and getting in front of them. But I'm trying to catch up to my platoon mates, and it's not that hard because I have 55 kilometers, so I can catch up to them relatively quickly. But you're seeing here that I'm able to spot all these tanks, and with the 6 degrees of gun depression, I'm able to, get hull down on this ridge and hide my hull and just get some good shots in here on the enemy tanks. I tracked the Super Conqueror, and I called out to my teammates telling him that he's tracked. And the other thing that I do is I tell them that I'm going to try and keep perma-tracking him. And then as soon as I see that he's back up, I let them know that, hey, he's back up. You don't need to worry about it. But he gets tracked again by one of my teammates. So I just continue to put rounds into him, and ultimately he just gets destroyed. And so what you see here mostly is just us kind of hanging out on this ridgeline, just putting shots into the enemy team. The high DPM allows us to continuously put the rounds downrange, and with 3 of us out there with this fast rate of fire, it's not a problem at all. You can see here that the view range is pretty good with the optics on the tank there. I'm able to secure so far a good 1,035 damage in terms of assisted. Yeah, I did snapshot on the wall there, hoping that maybe it'd go through and hit the 60 TP. It doesn't. It just gets blocked by the dead tank that I was unaware he was hiding behind. But I'm right here. I'm trying to just get some shots in on the Tortoise right now. And you're gonna watch here that one actually does go through and penetrate the tank. I honestly was not expecting that to penetrate right there at the angle it was. I knew there was a weak spot on the left side of the tank there, but at the angle it was, I was not expecting it to penetrate. I'm still raking up the spot assist right there. Again, all I'm doing right now is just sitting here waiting for shots of opportunity to arise. And I try and track the 60 TP thinking that I might be able to get some track assist damage. I don't. So instead, while my teammates are closing in on the far southern side of the map trying to get some side shots on those tanks, I'm going around and I'm going to go through the warehouse, and we're going to try and do a weird pincer maneuver on these tanks. And you're going to find out that this actually does work very, very effectively. The 60 TP is currently very distracted by all the tanks in front of him, and to his right side, that he's not worried about, focusing on me at all. He's already accepted the outcome of this game. You're going to see here, I just poke out right behind him, and I just start putting shots. Now, you're seeing here that I just have auto aim up, and I'm looking around, and that's just because I don't want to tunnel vision, and I want to make sure that there's no tanks that are going to roll up behind me while my turret is facing the wrong direction and shoot me in the back of the turret, or this 140 turns his attention to me. He tunnel visioned on my teammates and the tanks in front of him, and so I'm able to just safely put shots into his side until he actually does take notice of me. Here I'm using these pillars to try and block his shots while maintaining a good solid shot on him. I thought he was hiding behind a pillar, so I just take a blind shot, and actually it was just a destructible wall, so the round goes through the wall and penetrates his tank. So again, I'm just kind of hiding right here on the ridge using the 6 degrees of gun depression to just shoot down on the cupola of the Type 5, the M103. I look over, I see that's a Type 4. I pretty much almost have like a panic attack right there. I'm like, oh Lord, oh God. So I'll let my team know that the Type 4 is in the middle of the warehouse right there. I knock out the 103 with the help from my platoon mates right there. Again, that high DPM is fantastic at just knocking tanks out of the battle. And so now my teammates and I, we are coming through, and we are just putting rounds on the 48 Patton. I let my team know that the 48 Patton has burned his kit after I track him and he repairs. I noticed that it's an M60, M48 Whichever one it was. Again, these tanks look similar from the front sometimes. But I track him again, and now you just see that the wolf pack here is taking effect. We're circling the 48 Patton. I notice the 53, 55 is turning around. I call out to my teammates. I am focusing on the Artie so he doesn't shotgun us. And then I turn my attention back to the 48 Patton. And you just see that with the higher DPM of our 2 Russian mediums, we were able to knock him way down out of health, and it was just a very, very good game. You can see here that I actually do, once it actually loads up here on the screen, you can see here that I break in 310,000 silver right there, but I do over almost 7k damage that game. A very good game as a wolf pack in the Object 140. And that concludes today's video on how to play the Object 140. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked the video and want to see more. Also, special thanks to my mentor, Desert Storm 03, for the infographic he created, which I will leave a link to in the video description below. And until next time, this has been Darren of WotC Academy.